The Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon's greatest victory. December 2nd, 1805. On the frozen plains of Moravia, three empires clashed. On one side, Napoleon Bonaparte's France. On the other, the mighty forces of Russia and Austria. It was the height of the Napoleonic Wars. And on that day, Napoleon cemented his legacy with one of the greatest military maneuvers of all time, the Battle of Austerlitz. The Battle of Austerlitz, also known as the Battle of the Three Emperors, was Napoleon's most brilliant victory. Despite being outnumbered, he crushed the Austro-Russian coalition with tactical genius. In this video, we'll explore what led to the battle, how it unfolded, what its consequences were, and why it's remembered as the peak of Napoleon Bonaparte's military career. Historical context. Europe in 1805 was a powder keg. Napoleon had crowned himself Emperor of the French in 1804 and was expanding his influence across the continent. The European monarchies saw this as a direct threat. Austria, Russia, and Britain formed the Third Coalition to stop the French expansion. Austria made the first move by invading Bavaria, a French ally. Napoleon responded quickly, moving his army from the English Channel to the heart of Europe in record time. The road to battle. Napoleon launched the famous Ulm campaign, encircling and forcing the surrender of 30,000 Austrian troops in October 1805. Then he marched into Vienna almost unopposed. But a bigger challenge lay ahead. A united Russian and Austrian army led by Tsar Alexander I and General Kutuzov was on its way to confront him. Napoleon had about 73,000 troops. The coalition had nearly 85,000 soldiers. The showdown was set. Austerlitz, in present-day Czech Republic. Napoleon's master plan. Napoleon realized the Allies were overconfident, so he decided to use that against them. He pretended to be weak, pulling troops back from his right flank and making it appear vulnerable. The Allies took the bait and planned their main attack on that spot. Napoleon's goal? To lure the enemy into the center and right, drawing them off the Pratzen Heights, the most strategic point of the battlefield. That's where he would strike the decisive blow. The battle begins. On the morning of December 2nd, 1805, a thick fog blanketed the battlefield. At 8 a.m., the Allied forces launched their attack on the French right, just as Napoleon had anticipated. It looked like the coalition was winning, but it was all part of his plan. With the Allied center exposed, Napoleon ordered Marshal Soult to storm the Pratzen Heights. The assault was devastating. The French split the enemy army in two by capturing the high ground. The coalition collapses. While the Allies tried to respond, Napoleon unleashed further attacks. In the center, he reinforced his new position. On the left, Marshal Lannes held off the Russians. On the right, Marshal Davout held firm despite being outnumbered. As the day progressed, the Austro-Russian forces began to collapse. Hundreds of soldiers tried to flee across a frozen lake. Napoleon ordered his cannons to fire on the ice. It shattered, and many men drowned. One of the most dramatic moments of the battle. The result. The Battle of Austerlitz ended in a crushing victory for Napoleon. Estimated casualties: France, around 1,300 dead and 7,000 wounded. Allies, more than 15,000 killed or wounded and over 10,000 captured. It was a devastating blow to the Third Coalition. Consequences. Soon after the defeat, Emperor Francis II of Austria signed the Treaty of Pressburg, agreeing to pay heavy reparations and cede territory to France and its allies. Austria exited the war. Russia withdrew. The Holy Roman Empire, which had lasted for centuries, began its collapse and was officially dissolved in 1806. Napoleon, meanwhile, solidified his dominance over Central Europe and was hailed as a military genius. Tactical brilliance. What made Austerlitz legendary wasn't just the victory, but how it was achieved. Napoleon masterfully analyzed the terrain, predicted the enemy's moves, set a trap, and executed it with precision. The division of the enemy army, the surgical strike at its center, and the use of fog and timing were all elements of a deadly choreography. Many historians consider Austerlitz the greatest victory of Napoleon's career. Key figures: Napoleon, Bonaparte, Emperor of the French, brilliant strategist. At just 36 years old, he orchestrated one of history's most decisive battles. General Kutuzov, experienced Russian commander, but forced to follow the Tsar's orders. He was skeptical of the Allied plan. Tsar Alexander, both a young and idealistic Russian ruler, present on the battlefield but lacked experience. Emperor Francis II, Austrian monarch, defeated at Austerlitz. After the battle, he had to accept the decline of his empire's power. Famous quotes. After the battle, Napoleon addressed his troops. "Soldiers, I am pleased with you. On your uniforms shall shine a new glory. You have won Austerlitz." And he added, "If ever you forget what we did here, may heaven forget you." Closing. The Battle of Austerlitz was more than a military victory. It was a demonstration of intellect, patience, and boldness. It established Napoleon as the greatest general of his time, perhaps of all time, and it changed the course of European history forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you in the next video, where history comes alive.